Hey everyone, Mike here in the BFH Garage. I've received numerous requests about doing a video that covers the break-in procedure after installing a new set of gears. And that's exactly what this video is going to cover. After you install a brand new set of gears, it is really important to go through a proper break-in procedure. Now, my disclaimer for this is going to be follow the manufacturer's recommended break-in procedure for the gear set that you have. So if you're running Yukon, Nitro, Motive, Revolution, any of those, whatever that brand recommends is what I would follow, because in case you need to warranty that gear set out, they can look at that and tell whether or not you followed a proper break-in procedure, and they may deny your warranty if you didn't do so. Now, with that being said, I can say that most of these gear manufacturers all have the same break-in procedure. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but it's really important. Now, why a break-in procedure is really important is pretty straightforward. When you look at a set of gears, they come lapped from the manufacturer, meaning the pinion gear and the ring gear are lapped together so they get that initial contact pattern, and then that ring and pinion are matched by numbers to each other. You can't take a pinion from one gear set and match it up with the ring gear of another. They're designed to work as a married pair, and that's just the way that is. Now, the reason behind the break-in procedure is that gears, like I said, they're lightly lapped, but they also have a phosphate coating on them, which needs to break off as they work harden. When you go to break in gears, it's going to develop heat in that differential on those gear sets. That phosphate coating is going to start peeling off where the gear contact pattern is. That creates heat. That's why we have to do a break-in procedure, so we can minimize the amount of heat that is being generated in order to make sure those gears are going to get through that process and live a nice long life. Now, part of the process of setting up gears and being successful at it is making sure that you choose a good gear brand to begin with. Just like motor oils, just like tires, everybody has their favorite brand, and that's going to be what it's going to be. For me, I really enjoy setting up Revolution gear and axles gear sets. They're Circle K gears, and they set up very easily, and they run quiet. They're made in South Korea. They're not going to get reboxed in anything else. When you order Revolution gears, you're going to get a consistent product every time. Most other gear manufacturers will take whatever gear set's available, put it in whatever box, rebrand it, sell it as is. So you may get a quality set, you may not get a quality set. Since COVID has hit, I can tell you that the quality of some gear sets has declined dramatically. It's not the case with Revolution. They've been standing strong, and just so we're clear, I'm not sponsored by them. I don't get free stuff from them. It's my unbiased opinion. It's just a great product. Now, real quick, before I get into the gear break-in procedure, I have a couple sets of ring gears over here that I want you to take a look at so you can see what they look like when they're brand new, and you can see what they look like after they have more than 100,000 miles on them. So come on over, let's take a look. Okay, as you can see here, I have a brand new ring and pinion sitting in the styrofoam here, and I have a used ring and pinion. These aren't a matched set, but they're both used out of my junk pile. So I have them both out here so I can show you what a ring and pinion look like brand new and what a ring and pinion look like after well over 100,000 miles of use. So when you look at a brand new ring gear, I'm going to pull it up here, and you're going to look at the teeth here in the shiny area, and you might be able to see, it's very difficult to see now that it has a phosphate coating on there, but you can see a little bit of a pattern in there where it was lapped with this pinion gear. So when you look at this pinion gear here, it's a little easier to tell. If you get the light just right, you can see the line down here. And then you come up to the top side, you're going to see another line up there where these were mated and lapped together. That's why they call them a married set. When you look at a ring and pinion, they're going to have a specific matching number to them. This one here says 83 right there. If I pick up this ring gear, I'm going to look around and find that same matching number right there. So I know this is a married set. It's good to go for install. Now, when you look at a used set of gears, Remember, your new ring pinion have that phosphate coating, brand new. It covers everything. During the break-in procedure, that phosphate coating gets worn off. So as you look at a used gear set, you're going to look at the teeth and see how shiny they are, and that's because that coating has worn off through the break-in process and the hardening process there. So over time, it just continues to get smooth, polished, mirror-like finish if it is set up properly. Looking at the pinion gear, you're going to see the same thing here. You see how you can see the lines back there where the coating was and where the pattern is. Same thing back up here. And if you look at this pinion here, you're seeing how shiny it is on all of these teeth. Everything is just smooth as can be, shiny, meaning that that was set up correctly. All right, hopefully looking at that new ring and pinion along with the old ring and pinion allows you to see what they look like when they're brand new, what they look like after 100,000 miles or so of wear on them. You can see how that process brings that gear to life. Now, moving on into the break-in procedure. Manufacturers all have their own recommended procedures. Again, my recommendation is go with your brand's manufacturer recommendation. I'm going to go with Revolution Gear and Axle because that's the gears always used to set up. Virtually, they're all the same. They will all tell you that they don't want you to put the gear set under heavy load during the break-in process, the first couple cycles anyway. What they mean by that is they don't want you to accelerate hard, they don't want you driving up a steep mountain pass, and they definitely don't want you going off-road and getting all crazy with your rig as you're trying to navigate trails. What they want you to do is drive your vehicle for about 15 to 20 miles. So kind of an out and back over a steady course as relatively flat as you can make it, keeping your speeds below, I prefer 50 miles an hour. Others say you can go up to 60. I think 50 is a good number. Out and back, come back, let that differential cool completely. Once that's cooled completely, you're going to do that exact same process again. Out and back 15, 20 miles, come back, let it cool completely. What happens during this process is that pinion gear and that ring gear are meshing. And as they start to mesh, they're going to start peeling that phosphate coating off, and that's going to create heat. Now, during this process, the gear face is going to work harden, and that's how they're going to finally be set up for a long life. If you don't follow a proper gear break-in procedure, what you can do is you can overheat your gears when they're brand new, meaning that during that process, that gear oil heats up, the face heats up, and it overheats. And a gear manufacturer can and probably will decline any type of warranty request that you may put in. They'll be able to look at the ring and pinion and tell if it was overheated during that process. So it's really important to make sure you get these things set up correctly. Now, if you're curious about the heating and cooling cycle, when you get back from that 15 to 20 mile drive and you park your vehicle, get out, go underneath, put the back of your hand up against that differential cover. It's going to be pretty hot. In fact, hot enough that you may be able to hold it there for maybe a quarter or half a second is all. It gets pretty hot. You go through that second cycle, you come back, it should be a little less than that. By the time you're done with the entire break-in procedure at 500 miles, you should notice a substantial difference. More than likely, you'll be able to get under there, put your hand up against the differential cover, and not have to immediately remove it due to the heat. So another thing or another tool you can use to monitor that is a handheld thermometer. You can point it right at your differential. It'll tell you what the temperature is, and you can take readings through each cycle up to 500 miles and track that difference if you're curious. It's pretty interesting to see how that works. Moving on to the next process, after you get those 2 cycles in, you want to get 500 miles on this gear set before changing the differential fluid. Now, what that's going to do is that's going to allow those gears to continually break in and remove any more of the phosphate coating, as well as start to smooth out the gear faces and get work hardened. Now, going back to the towing part of that, if you're going to tow with your vehicle, the one thing you want to do before changing out the differential fluid is you want to get a cycle towing whatever it is you're going to tow the same way you did the first process. So out and back 15, 20 miles, come back, park it, let it cool, and that will be sufficient for your tow process. Now, once you reach that 500 miles, we're going to pull that diff cover off. We're going to drain all of that gear oil. When you're looking at that gear oil, you're going to inspect it and make sure everything looks normal. Normal is it can have a shimmy to it, kind of like a fine glitter. And that's all the contaminants that have been wearing off the gear faces, mixing in with the gear oil. Kind of looks like a really fine glitter. What you shouldn't see are large chunks of anything. You shouldn't see pitting in your gears or parts of a tooth missing off of your gear set. That would be abnormal. A fine glitter shimmer, completely normal. Once you get that gear oil drained out, make sure you clean out that housing really good to get all of those contaminants out of there. Just like motor oil, if you're running motor oil that has contamination in it, it's going to make everything wear down faster and not have as long of a life. Same thing with gear sets and bearings. So get that cleaned out really well. We're going to put that diff cover off, and then we're going to fill it with new lubrication. Now, most aftermarket gear manufacturers don't care about what brand you use, but I'm going to go with Revolution Gear and Axle, what their recommendation is, because that's primarily who I use. They want you to use either a 80W90 or I believe it's either a 75 or 80 W140. Now, the difference between those two, one's kind of a lighter weight gear oil that you can use with light duty use. If you're going to be towing a lot or you're going to be doing heavy off-road use, things like that in a high heat environment, then that 140 may be the fluid of choice. Now I can tell you I've used both, and where I live here in Colorado, the 140 is pretty darn thick, especially in the winter time, and that can create its own set of issues when it gets really cold. I've tried changing gear fluid out with 140 when it's sub-zero outside and maybe 20 degrees in my shop before it gets heated up, and it's like molasses pulling out of there. So just keep that in mind if you're going to use that heavier gear oil. Now, the one thing that all the manufacturers recommend is that you stick with a GL5 based fluid. So if you want to use one of the auto parts stores house brand, or you want to go with a brand name, doesn't matter. At least Revolution Gear says stick with a non-synthetic. Others, they may tell you synthetic, but go with whatever that gear manufacturer recommendation is. All right, now to summarize everything. The break-in procedure consists of not putting undue load on your gears. In other words, you're going to get in your vehicle, you're going to drive on a relatively flat surface where you don't have to start, stop, start, stop. You're going to go about 15 to 20 miles. You're going to return, let that differential cool completely. Then you're going to do that same process again one more time on that same route. You're going to bring it back that second time. You're going to let that differential cool completely. Now, if you want to do a third cycle, that's not going to hurt it, maybe help it, but either way, that's fine. You're going to come back, you're going to let that differential cool completely. You're going to continue to drive on those gears for 500 miles, and at the 500 mile mark, you are going to change out that differential fluid. The caveat to that is if you tow something and you want to get a tow cycle on there, you're going to hook up whatever it is you're towing, take it down that same route, come back, let it cool. Either way, at 500 miles, what you're going to do then is drain that fluid, replace it with a GL5 spec fluid, button that thing back up, and you're good to go. Hopefully you found this video useful. If you're interested in other videos on re-gearing, I have more on my website. If it's your first time visiting this channel, please subscribe, like all those things, because it really helps me out. If you have any other topics for videos that you'd like to see covered, you can either put them in the comments or you can email me. Go to my information page on the YouTube channel, my email's in there. You can shoot me a message and I'll try to get it posted as a video. Thanks, we'll see you on the next one.